Well, keeping our eye on international matters, Turkey calling for an emergency meeting of NATO allies to discuss security. So one of the U.S.'s strongest allies in the region looks less stable. Fox News national security analyst Katie McFarland with me now. Katie, wonderful to have you with me. So there is a lot going on in Turkey right now. Turkey continuing to fight the Kurds based in northern Iraq and also fighting ISIS.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Middle East, you have to understand, everybody fights everybody else all the time, and they always change sides. I mean, I call it's like an a la carte civil war. So here's Turkey, right? They're fighting ISIS, but they're also fighting the Kurds. We're fighting ISIS, but we're not fighting the Kurds. We're arming the Kurds. Iran, they're fighting ISIS. The Syrian rebels, well, they'll fight ISIS, but they also want to fight Assad. I mean, everybody's got different sides, and everybody's constantly changing.
I unfortunately like your term, that a la carte civil war. Yeah.
But here's the problem. The United States and Turkey, we're members of NATO. Now, Turkey has the right under Article 4 to say, we've been attacked. We've been attacked by ISIS. We've seen suicide bombers. We want to get all the NATO countries together and let's decide what our role is. Under Article 5 of the NATO treaty, it says an attack against one is an attack that has to be responded to.
So you're saying essentially that Turkey is almost looking for a declaration of war from NATO allies.
Not yet, but the fact that they called this meeting, we're all talking about it now, right? NATO's gotten together, we're having the meeting, but the next step, if this war accelerates, then potentially Turkey says, okay, come on, everybody join with us and defend Turkey.
What does this mean longer term? I mean, the U.S., that region of the world is hard for the U.S. Friends are hard to come by, right, in that region.
Oh, yeah.
So this is, and I hear what you're saying, that is divisive anyway. There's lots of different factions, lots of different sides. But it just looks like, okay, that's one place on the map that the U.S. has been able to count on in the past. Does that look cloudy?
Yes and no. The problem with Turkey is the United States has had good and not so good relationships with Turkey, separate from NATO. Turkey, for example, has had in the past good relations with Israel, now doesn't have good relations with Israel. I think the key to watch in all of this is what happens with Iran. We have the deal with Iran. Iran is supposed to be helping us fight ISIS. But if Iran becomes the nuclear power in the region and also economically the major power in the region, that shifts the whole chessboard around. Turkey has a new position. Everybody is going to have to adjust to the new big guy on the block.
So, Katie, from what we understand, there is a 10-year outline, right, of this nuclear framework, this nuclear deal. At what point do you, as an expert, say, okay, I see Iran either moving towards nuclear power in the way that it's not supposed to, that is to say for weaponry, or I see Iran getting major billions of dollars from Europe, including Russia or other parts of the world?
Well, they're both happening right away. Iran is going to get two things out of this. It's got this very complicated system of verification, but it's all blue smoke and mirrors. Don't believe any of the stuff they're blowing at you. Because at the bottom line, if you don't have any time, any place inspections, this is an agreement that's not verifiable. And even if it were verifiable, it's not what we think, it's what the other countries in the region think. If they look at this and say, wait, Iran's about to get nukes, Iran's about to get really rich. Too. We need our nukes. And so then
and our money.
And we also need the money. And what you then see is a wealthy Iran, potentially a nuclear Iran, expanding throughout the entire region. And the other countries in the region say we need to get our nukes too. So the one thing since the dawn of the atomic age everybody's been worried about is nuclear weapons in the hands of crazy people who want to use them. You know, the Russians have had nuclear weapons, the Chinese, the Brits. Nobody's really thought they wanted to commit suicide and use nuclear weapons. But if you have nuclear weapons in the Middle East, and if you have other countries besides Iran getting them, we have seen in the Arab Spring, these countries can be toppled overnight. So what happens if one of these other countries gets nuclear weapons and they are toppled by Islamic extremists? We know those guys will use nuclear weapons.
As we have been led to believe and have been educated to believe, there is a certain faction whose mission it is to bring on, as they see it, the end of the world.
Absolutely. We laugh at it, but they think that's what they believe.
There was a very long read in The Atlantic that I love that corrected at least my stance on that. Katie, it is great to have you with us. Thank you so much. Katie McFarland joining us there. She is, of course, our top analyst.